Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen, because it is now happening exactly like we've been discussing. These far-left Democrats are starting to backpedal when it comes to the radical positions they've been taking and riding hard for. And now you have the likes of AOC, Bernie Sanders, and Ilhan Omar all attempting to sanitize their language and distance themselves from some of the rhetoric they were perfectly comfortable using before. And we know why. The DNC as a whole is struggling financially. These far-left socialist candidates are costing them. And on top of that, they're barely scraping through primaries against weaker, less progressive Democrats. And now Democrats are starting to panic because they know there are some extremely important elections coming up. The money is looking funny. The margins are looking shaky. And voters are not latching onto this socialism idea nearly as much as they've been claiming. And so now all of a sudden, everybody wants to soften their language, explain what they really meant, pretend those radical positions weren't quite as radical as they sounded when they were saying them. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to break down and get into. But first, as always, if you do enjoy the content, smash that thumbs up button. That's the best way to tell me. Stay locked in with the future videos. Subscribe to the channel. And shout out to everybody, especially those who watch to the end. And don't forget to comment. Let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right into it.
No serious person that I know who is running for office believes in quote-unquote defunding the police. I was a mayor for 8 years. I worked very closely with cops. They have a very difficult job. Do we need police reform? Do we need to get rid of racism within police departments? Absolutely. Are there jobs that other people can be doing in terms of mental health, drug addiction that now falls on a cop's shoulders? Yeah, I think we should look at that. But nobody I know, believes in defunding the police in terms of doing away with prisons. I hope the day comes. I hope the day comes when we don't lead the world in the number of people who are incarcerated. That speaks very poorly of our society. Yeah. But does that mean that there should not be dangerous people who should be behind bars? Of course, everybody agrees with that. Open borders, no. Most of us believe in comprehensive immigration reform, not opening up all the borders. But a lot of this stuff, as you well know, is what the right wing plays on and multiplies on Fox, 10 times a day and through their ads. But most of the serious candidates that I know and support do not support those things.
Yeah, so there you have that. And so Bernie Sanders is trying to sell you on the idea that not only does he not want to defund the police, he's never been in that position as far as thinking defund the police was a good idea. But he also wants to sell you on the idea that he doesn't even know, or he isn't familiar with any serious candidates who think that way also, who wanted to defund the police. Yeah, that's what he just said, ladies and gentlemen. And so basically, he wants you to ignore everything you heard these far-left Democrats screaming from the mountaintop up until this point, where he just said that he wants you to ignore it all, what your ears heard, and now believe that they're all for police. They realize that safety is important. Listen, if you believe a word that these people are saying, I got some beachfront property in this remote desert area that is, it's to die for. You will love it. I mean, seriously, you are gullible if you fall for any of what they're saying. And so now we have Bernie Sanders, and we'll get into AOC also in a moment, who aren't willing to endorse and give Francesca Hong their stamp of approval. And so take a listen to this.
I know that you haven't gotten involved in many governor's races with the exception of Maine, but Democratic Socialist Francesca Hong in Wisconsin is expected to win her Democratic primary. There's been some attention to some of her social media posts recently, but she has this platform of free childcare, state-run grocery stores, more health care subsidies. She wants to raise income taxes on millionaires. Some of this does seem to align with your platform. So I'm wondering, why don't you support her? Is some of what she supports too extreme for you?
No, raising taxes on the rich, making sure that everybody in Wisconsin or America has health care as a right, sounds quite reasonable to me. Look, we have a limited number of races that we can be involved in. Most of my focus on is getting people elected to the United States Senate, getting people elected to the House of Representatives. So with one exception, we have not been involved in a governor's race, and that's somebody who I've known in Maine for many, many years.
Who is now running for the Senate in Maine?
Take a listen to this, because apparently we found the one Democratic Socialist candidate that is so awful, even Bernie Sanders and AOC have declined to endorse her. Her name is Francesca Hong, the mentally troubled gubernatorial candidate in Wisconsin who wanted to abolish Thanksgiving if you let her, have at it. And so it seems to be a line, at least for right now, because Democrats are realizing that their far left rhetoric, because Democrats are beginning to wake up, it seems, at least because it's election season, so you take it with a grain of salt. They're beginning to realize that their far left rhetoric is not as popular as what they believe it to be when they speak to the people who are inside their delusional bubble and will vote blue no matter who and is sipping the liberal Kool-Aid. And so apparently the loony liberals must have gotten together and have some sort of team meeting and came to the agreement as a group that they will no longer say they want to defund the police, because now this is now becoming the talking point, where you have Ilhan Omar on CNN basically echoing what you just heard from Bernie Sanders.
I want you to listen to what he told Pod Save America.
No serious person that I know who is running for office believes in quote unquote defunding the police. Do we need police reform? Do we need to get rid of racism within police departments? Absolutely. Are there jobs that other people can be doing in terms of mental health, drug addiction that now falls on a cop's shoulders? Yeah, I think we should look at that. But nobody I know, believes in defunding the police.
Do you think that's true? Because there are some candidates that are running right now that have previously called for defunding the police.
I mean, in the Democratic Party and in Congress, we oftentimes talk about people voting their district. Obviously, there are some parts of the United States back in 2020 that had some reckoning to do in regards to what it looked like to have a public safety that centered actually safer communities. For us in Minneapolis, with the murder of George Floyd, we had to have a deeper conversation about what really it looked like for us to address public safety here. We had a police department that was essentially problematic. And when that conversation becomes nationalized, then you sort of get the kind of messaging that gets sort of lost in the void. Minneapolis has come a long way. We still have a long way to go. And I think that is sort of what Bernie was speaking to. People essentially do want safer communities. People want the issues that exist with certain police departments, like the Minneapolis Police Department, to be addressed. And people want to have trust in those that seek to serve and protect them.
But do you think it's accurate that as he put it, he said, no serious person I know who's running for office believes in quote unquote defunding the police? Do you think that's true?
I mean, when he says that, I think he's talking about someone putting forth a piece of legislation. And to that regard, I would say that he is right. I haven't seen any pieces of legislation or ordinances come through in the United States since 2020.
Yeah, and so let's go and break this down and translate what Ilhan Omar is saying right here, because she's saying a lot of words that don't really mean much, all as a way to try and save face, you could say. Yeah, and so basically what she's saying is back in 2020, they were fine with that type of violent, chaotic rhetoric. It's what ended up helping them grow and breed the far left base, the socialist base that is grown into, that have allowed these far left Democrats to now seize and take over the establishment Democrats. But along with that, what has backfired has been the level of crime and the issues that these communities, blue cities, have then had to deal with, and come into the realization that working class Americans don't want to live in fear, don't want to live in violent communities where they don't even feel safe enough to walk outside on their porch. And so, yeah, now you're forced to kind of walk back all those defund the police type of language that you were using. And really, she just wants to save face by saying there's still work to be done. Yeah, so there you have that. Ilhan Omar basically echoing what Bernie Sanders said, which is why I said they must have had a group meeting, must have got together in a group chat and said, all right, this whole defund the police thing, we can't really, say that we are okay with that anymore. And, so now they're going out and they're pretending as if they were all for police this entire time, that, it was just, they wanted, better and safer neighborhoods. And so, yeah, we needed to say defund the police. That's why we needed to say it. I mean, make that make sense, ladies and gentlemen, but they can't. And so now you have AOC. She's also in it. She's one of these far left socialists, but she tries to play it a little bit closer to the vest, I guess you could say, as far as not letting all of her, radical positions be known, because she understands how to, at least be perceived in a particular type of way. And so she's falling into the same bucket with these individuals, as she does not want to endorse the far left Wisconsin candidate, because here's the problem they're having now. These far left Democrats have spawned more far left Democrats, but they're realizing that everybody's not sipping the blue Kool-Aid. And so you have AOC also, who is dodging when asked about Wisconsin's Democrat socialist Francesca Hong. And so the host confronts her on, why you haven't endorsed, are you going to? And take a listen.
So you have Wisconsin coming up next, Francesca Hong, who is the Democratic Socialists of America supported candidate for governor. You haven't endorsed her. Are you going to?
No, I haven't endorsed in that race. My focus has been in winning back the Congress, winning back the House, and positioning ourselves to have the best chance possible to win the Senate. So I've been focused on those legislative races.
What do you make of those controversial statements I'm sure you've seen? I mean, she's, the Thanksgiving dust up. Mm-hmm. She says she doesn't, still believe that, but, the abolish prisons, abolish police, which is also positions that have been taken by a lot of the progressive candidates who have won. Mm-hmm. How do you get around that? I mean, those are not positions that are supported by...
Right. I mean, I think that a lot of these races, even right now, they'll have a tendency to be nationalized. Yeah. But these races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this... saying woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's interesting.
And I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it. I mean, did the movement go too far with some of those positions? I mean, you briefly supported the idea of defunding the police.
Well, I think that during this time, and especially during COVID, there was a huge opening of the Overton window. We were shut down. There was some of the highest unemployment rates that we have seen because of those shutdowns. Yeah. And I think that the doors were really open in trying to entertain any and every policy that was going to get us to a better place. And I actually think that the discussions that were had in that time were quite fruitful. I think that when we talk about crime today, it's fundamentally different than the way that we talked about crime in bringing crime down, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that we all share in the goals of having as low a crime rate as possible. I think that, during lockdown, of course, rhetoric in that time is not rhetoric that we would use today. And I'm grateful that these candidates have the opportunity to present who they are to their electorate and what they're campaigning on in this moment.
I mean, wow, you would have to be the biggest idiot to listen to what AOC just said and then say, yeah, this makes absolute sense. So AOC wants to sell you the idea that when it comes to, she's talking about Francesca Hong, but I'm sure she'll probably apply this to anybody who is convenient for them to apply it to. She wants you to not listen to any of the things that this woman has said over and over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout the years. And she stood on confidently, unshaken, 10 toes down. Don't believe any of that. No. Just listen to what she's saying now. That's what you should believe. Now, mind you, that will also require you ignoring the fact that she's in the middle of a primary race that she has locked up based on the poll numbers. At least she should win, and she'll end up going into the general election as far as with the state governor race in Wisconsin. But Democrats also realize that outside of their blue liberal bubble, everyone is not sipping the, blue liberal juice as much as they thought. And so these far left, talking points about defunding the police and, abolishing the Senate and all these other radical stances that these socialist candidates are taking, they're not going over as well as what they were trying to advertise it to be. And so now you're seeing a consistent across the board, as we discussed, walk back. They're backpedaling because they need to appeal to the moderates in the Democrat Party and get them to come out and vote for these candidates, as well as they're trying to make themselves more appealing to independent voters. And so you really have to be an idiot to think that anything that Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, or AOC, anything that they're saying, where now suddenly they have this epiphany, this new understanding of, we needed to be about defunding the police back then. It was necessary for the time. Man, listen, you got to be two types of stupid to be believing in that. Just not one, two types of stupid. If they were actually serious as far as things go, which I have no doubt they're not, but if in some, alternate multiverse reality they actually were serious, this would have been a different answer, ladies and gentlemen. AOC dodges when asked if there is room for Hasan Piker in her party. Take a listen.
Another person who's been made an issue is Hasan Piker, who obviously endorsed Abdul Sayed in Michigan. You've been on his live stream, at least a few times. He's somebody who said, that America deserved 9/11. Now he backed off from that.
Yes, he's apologized.
But he said a lot of controversial things. Is he somebody that should have a role in the progressive movement going forward?
I think when we look at our elections that have happened, we have lost young people. Much hay was made about the fact that we lost young men in the last election. And many of the same consultants that are wringing their hands today were the same ones talking about how we need to go on Joe Rogan and we need to be not so, willing to engage in cancel culture. And I think that the flip-flopping on this is a tactical debate that they may be having. I think the fact of the matter is that Democrats can go on Joe Rogan, Democrats can go on Fox News, Democrats have a responsibility to build a winning coalition, and young people are engaging in mediums and conversations that we have a responsibility to attend to and be responsive to. And even right now, when we look at this insurgent wave of what is happening, oftentimes when people are doing that Monday morning quarterbacking and what demographics voted where, the big one that's being ignored is the generational tidal wave. Tsunami.
You see it in the polling. It is significant.
Millennials are not, punk kids anymore.
Yeah.
We're grown adults with mortgages and kids.
Yeah, so somehow a question about Hasan Piker, someone who once said that America deserved 9/11. AOC's answer to that was, it's easy being a Monday morning quarterback. Millennials, they're no longer punk kids. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. Which makes a lot of sense to when she is confronted about her status as a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America and the radical agenda that they have posted all over their website and that they seek to push, and that you hear representatives jumping on national television speaking on and how they want to implement if they get the opportunity to put their candidates in power. But yet, listen to AOC's response to all of that. Take a listen.
I was looking through the DSA program, and this is the national program. I'm sure you've seen the document. It was adopted just a few months ago. But some of the positions here: defund the Department of Defense, close overseas military bases, abolish the police and prison system, grant amnesty to all immigrants in the U.S., replace the Supreme Court and executive judiciary with a chosen by lower to Congress, abolish the Senate, public ownership of corporations and essential industries. I mean, those are some positions that you're going to be hearing a lot about this fall from Republicans.
And I think we're also going to be hearing a lot about Donald Trump's commitment to getting us into a reckless war in Iran, his collaboration with big companies to make sure that everything from groceries to rent stay sky high. And I think that people are less interested in these academic debates, and they're more interested in how we're going to bring their bills down and make sure that they can afford to see a doctor.
But do you see, I mean, are those positions you support?
No, but I think that this is a free country. Everyone can have all sorts of beliefs and they can organize around them, and you're free to do what you like and, you know, have conversations with your neighbors. But my job as an elected official is to guarantee health care in America. And that's what I'm focused on, and that's what I seek to do.
And what do you say?
All right, yeah, so there you have that. These people are absolutely, this is quite fascinating. I mean, it's really entertaining to listen and watch these people now try and completely switch and flip-flop and switch sides. I mean, I'm getting, you know, flashbacks of Kamala Harris via 2024 during the, national election, right? Where she suddenly became, you know, the flip-flopper in her own right. I mean, they may be outdoing old Kamala right here with this one. Which is why, following this interview, AOC caught a lot of flack from the likes of Scott Jennings as well as others. And so just go ahead and take a look at this real quick. Check it out.
But as you know, I've been in this big tent party probably longer than most people. And I can tell you, we're having the same kind of growing pains I saw on the Republican side, whether it was through the Tea Party in 2010, the activists who helped to bring about the MAGA movement.
And with all due respect to my friend Donna, there's nothing like, you can't draw any equivalence between the Tea Party movement and the socialists. For one, the Tea Party folks weren't trying to bring about the downfall of Western civilization and the United States of America. Abolish the police, abolish ICE, abolish borders, abolish the Senate, abolish the Constitution. There was nothing like this in the Republican Party. So it's an extreme political ideology that is gaining traction. The Democrat leadership has lost control. They know it. And people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Hong in Wisconsin, Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. You talk about the big tent. The Democrat Jewish Attorney General of Michigan cannot even go to her party's nominating convention because she says, I won't be safe there because of the supporters of Abdul El Sayed. You can't draw any equivalence between what happened in the Republican Party with the resurgence of patriot conservatives versus these anti-American radicals.
Yeah, look, and I listened really carefully to what Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez said this morning. You know, every position that Scott just laid out, when you presented it to her, she talked about backing off, changing her views, evolving views.
Woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy, which we never heard her say before. Look, I think the Congressman put it correctly, that there's two parts to this. It's what are you talking about, and do we trust what you're saying? And after listening to the Congresswoman, why should anyone trust her? The things that she has said previously now, when she senses that she didn't know what she was talking about, and she was out of touch and with the American people, and now wants to advance her career, now all of a sudden she's saying different things. And I have to say, when you played the Francisca Hong part, I can tell you this. The Republican Governors Association is giddy over what will happen on Tuesday, because we're going to hold people like her and the Congresswoman to what they've said over their careers, not what they're trying to conveniently evolve into now.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, all of this is going to be really interesting to sit here and watch unfold as you watch these lunatic liberals try and masquerade themselves as moderates. It's going to be really interesting, because I want the Republican Party, I want these Republican candidates to hold their feet to the fire. I want them to use all the ammo, empty the clip. Don't let one single shot not be taken. No, 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 no. I can't stand this idea that people like this, they try and pretend as if, well, you know, I can say these delusional, deranged, dangerous things, incite a level of chaos in the public, create these false narratives, and then I can just go ahead and take it back when I'm ready, because now it no longer fits the direction we're trying to go. And I hope that the people voting, I hope a majority of Americans see through this and they actually come out and vote against it and don't allow these people to get away with what they're attempting to do. They trying to put the ski mask on and commit robbery come November. That's what they're really trying to do, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to see what ends up happening. You know, I'm going to keep you guys locked into everything that's happening. You let me know your thoughts now about this one. Drop your comments down below. Appreciate when you guys chime in. Don't forget, enjoy the content. Hit the like button for more. Subscribe to the channel. And as always, until next time.